All right, let's do this podcasting thing.
Yeah, welcome to the Boles of Life podcast. I'm Virginia.
And I'm Tyler. As we've gone through life, we've learned something important.
Life is messy. There are a lot of armchair experts out there who will try to tell you how to make life simple.
But it's not!
It never is.
So, you're not going to find any armchair experts here. Instead, you're going to find everyday people who have jumped into the mess of life and are making an adventure of it.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back in. Glad you guys are here. We made it through that intro pretty well.
Yeah, we
so
did.
Props to us. Nobody else is around to give us props, so I have to do it.
Yeah, prop ourselves.
Prop ourselves. So we were going to release this episode a week ago, but our interviewee came down with a case of my voice doesn't work. I don't know what to call that. A case of voice doesn't work-itis?
Yeah.
I don't know. Wasn't a sore throat. But anyway, our interviewee for the day wasn't ready, so we postponed it for a week. So hopefully it's going to be worth your wait. But before we jump into today's topic, I want to let you guys hear from someone who finally did it, Virginia.
Finally!
What did they do?
They recorded what is something messy in their life that they are loving so that we could feature them and their story on the podcast.
Yes, and we're so excited about it. We are literally dropping it at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
Virginia, it's somebody you know from the podcasting world, and even before then, but why do you know this person from the podcasting world? Shameless plug for you.
Oh, yeah. So me and this person also co-host, along with a third person, the 517 Life podcast.
Yes, and what is the 517 Life podcast?
It is a podcast for women who tell their stories. There's probably actually a tagline that I should have somewhat memorized. But it is a podcast for women where we share stories of what God's doing in their lives. And it's just powerful to hear women's stories. So you got to listen. The 517 Life podcast.
Do you take slight offense that it's supposed to be a podcast for women? Because I'm an avid listener and really enjoy that podcast.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily just for women, but we only interview women.
Well,
it technically is a part of, like, I would say, our women's ministry at the Exchange.
I would agree.
But that's just because women are really good at telling stories and
accurate.
I think it's important to do that. So, yeah, Tyler enjoys it too, so it doesn't have to be just for women.
True that.
Sometimes we talk about, like, postpartum depression, but you guys need to know about that too, so.
True that. All right, well, let's hear from our friend, Miss Carrie Puckett.
Hey y'all, this is Carrie Puckett coming at you to tell you what is something messy in my life that I'm enjoying. I am currently getting a master's in counseling, and it has been such a stressful yet enjoyable time of my life. I have been learning so much about how to help people in the counseling setting, and I'm just so excited to start this new career. I told a friend of mine at school that it feels as if I'm treading water, but the water I'm treading in is just the best water. I don't know if that makes sense, but what I mean by that is that it has been a stressful season. I've never been so busy in my life, but at the same time, I'm just loving every minute of it. So it's never too late to start a new career path. That's all.
All right, so good.
That was so good. I feel like I could just sit here and keep talking about what she just said.
Yeah, jumping into the turbulent waters or troubled waters.
Yeah,
the treading waters. Sorry,
yeah.
It was something with a T. My bad. There's lots of T's in my life. There's actually some tea in this cup here. There's tea everywhere.
Boy. Okay, anyways, yes.
Thank you, Carrie, for getting featured on our podcast.
And please, now that you guys have seen it done or heard it done, like, now it's your turn. Just go to bolesoflife.com/podcast, and then there will be a link somewhere on there where you go and you record what's messy in your life that you are loving.
Yes. All right. Well, Virginia, what are we talking about today?
Well, you're talking about physical wellness today, man.
Ooh, tell me about physical wellness.
About physical wellness. So typically what you're going to hear when you, like, read a definition or hear somebody talk about physical wellness, they're talking about the physical body and the wellness and health of the body and the ways to maintain that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few, like, specifics that are mentioned, like eating healthy, exercise, getting enough sleep. Those are, like, the three main ones I think you'll hear. So that's kind of physical. If you think about the physical body, that's our physical wellness.
Yes, my super non-technical definition that I went with as we were kind of outlining this series was caring for your body caring for your body so you stay healthy now and in the future.
You didn't want me to say that, did you?
No.
Okay, you wanted me to give a real answer.
No, you're
okay.
fine. I was just giving a very short synopsis.
I like it.
Little sentence.
I like it because you kind of I gave what you would read if you Googled it, and then you gave kind of like what it is. You know, caring for your body to stay healthy now and in the future. I like it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I wanted to introduce you guys to our super special guest for the day that is going to dig into physical wellness for it. And this person's name is Virginia Boles.
Hi, it's so nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm so glad you decided to join me on the podcast. Normally I have a co-host here with me, but today it's just going to be me and our interviewee, Virginia.
You like the other co-host more, don't you?
We'll find out. I'll let you know by the end of the episode.
All right. Well, yes, it's me being interviewed today, and while I know there are other people out there that could definitely be interviewed for this podcast, it's me. So
it is you, and I'm excited that it's you. I don't know why you're so not excited. I'm excited that it's you.
Yay! Okay, I'm excited to talk about it.
Good. Well, what qualifies you to talk about physical wellness?
Wow. Now I feel like I don't like that question, but I am a registered dietitian.
Yes, and that's what qualifies you.
AKA
Thank you.
A nutritionist.
Yes. No. Give me all the letters and things. You've got a bunch of them.
No, I let the health coach lapse. I'm no longer a national board certified health and wellness coach. NBC.
So what are your current ones? You've had some other ones apparently.
No, it's fine.
You basically just didn't pay for to have the other ones.
Right. So I can still qualify as a wellness coach because I am a registered dietitian. It's just not a certified thing.
Gotcha.
Not that anybody cares about that. I'm a registered dietitian, nutritionist, RDN.
RDN. Yeah, see, that's what I was looking for. All the letters.
It's a lot of letters.
Yeah, well, you let some of them go, and I didn't know that.
Okay, yes.
Anyway, you're a dietitian. Well, what is a dietitian in like 60 seconds or less?
Oh, okay. I hate that. There's so much pressure. Dietitian is someone who has studied food and how food works in the body. And they, study that for several years, and how it's related to not only our physical health and like our clinical health, or medical, however you want to say it, but also how it can relate emotionally, and we help people kind of navigate what it's like to eat in a way that supports your health, individual's health, and well-being. So yeah, that's how I don't know. That's off the cuff, but that's kind of how I like to describe it.
Okay, I like it. So we'll dive into some of the physical wellness in a second, but I'd love to know what made you want to be a dietitian, a registered dietitian nutritionist.
So I know I've been interviewed before on a little bit of this similar topic, but on our podcast. But just to give a quick story, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, age 14. AKA juvenile diabetes, doesn't really matter what you call it. But a few years into that, I met with a dietitian. And that's when I felt called into the world of dietetics and nutrition so that I could help other people like me. Basically people who are affected, like their health is affected by what they eat. But I did not realize what it would grow into. So I love what I do. Absolutely.
Well, speaking of what you do, I believe it has morphed and changed about 7 times since the last time we talked about it on the podcast. So tell me a little bit about all the things you do.
Yeah, so I do nutrition counseling in a few different areas. Yeah. So I still kind of deal with some clinical type nutrition counseling, like related to diabetes, heart health, heart failure, that sort of thing. Very minimal, and it's more, It's not as clinical because it's not like in a clinical setting. It's a virtual setting. But the other things that I do, nutrition counseling, I work in private practice. I do one-on-one counseling with any individual that would like to meet with me or desires to meet with me, typically in the eating disorder realm or disordered eating realm, though you do not have to, have issues with that to meet with me. And then I also now work in a drug and alcohol addiction rehab center, and that's very brand new, but I work with other therapists and doctors, nurse practitioners. It's kind of like a whole team approach, but it's for people dealing with addiction, and there's a lot of disordered eating and eating disorders within that world as well. So
okay, many things there. For those who may not be familiar with the term, what do you mean by disordered eating?
Okay, so I think everybody's probably heard eating disorder as a diagnosis of just a disorder with the way that one eats. When we say disordered eating, it's a non-diagnosis term, and it basically just defines someone who has disordered patterns and disordered thinking patterns around food, their body, and the way that they eat, and even can be related to the way that they treat their body when it comes to like exercise and that sort of stuff too. So just think like not just the pattern of the way that they eat, but the way that they think about food.
All right, so making sure I'm tracking with you here. So eating disorder is somebody who has a diagnosis. Mm-hmm. Disordered eating is more, looks like you've got a lot of the patterns or behaviors that would likely give you a diagnosis if you were to go to someone who does that, basically, to
not
a doctor?
Necessarily.
No? Okay.
No. Disordered eating does not always have to elicit or turn into an eating disorder. Are there similar patterns? Yes, absolutely, but they were very, very different things. An eating disorder is a mental health disorder, just like you would see like a bipolar disorder or so a mental health disorder, depression, anything that's disordered in the brain, that's an eating disorder. It qualifies in that realm. Disordered eating, again, is just where the pattern of the brain has become conditioned to think more disorderly around food in the body. Yeah, so like I said, eating disorders and disordered eating are very different, especially in the fact of how diagnosis happens, and it's, the qualifications of a diagnosis. But just to say this, if you feel like you have a disordered pattern with your eating or the way that you think about food based on things you hear me say or things you've heard other, people in that world of dietetics say, reach out and just kind of ask some questions and explore it, because we do live in a culture where there's a lot of diet talk and body image conversations, and it actually can very much cultivate a disordered thinking pattern and eating pattern. So I would just say if anybody is concerned, to reach out to somebody and ask questions. There's no harm in that.
Love it. Well, thanks for doing a lot of off-the-cuff things there that I did not prep you for, but just felt like those were things some of our listeners might be interested in knowing a little bit further about you. If you guys have questions further in that dietitian world, reach out. Virginia'd love to say hello.
Yeah, I would.
And all the other things, other words. I don't know. All right. Well, let's dive in a little bit directly to physical wellness. Now, obviously, dietitian, we've talked a lot about eating. So Let's start with food and eating. Does my eating really play that big of a factor in my physical wellness? Like, I know I need to take in a lot if, like, I'm running or something, but beyond that, like, help me understand that.
Okay, so can I, like, back up just a little bit before I jump into
Absolutely,
food related to physical wellness?
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to, like, give an idea. We already said, like, caring for your body to stay healthy now and in the future. For one thing, like, healthy is defined in many different ways for many different people, and I think you can have a very good and positive and, great definition of healthy, but there are definitions of healthy that people hold on to that can be, to use the word, disordered or quite, frankly, like can cause more harm to your physical body. But I say all that to say, when you think about physical wellness, I just want you to stop and think, like, my physical body that I am inhabiting, that my soul inhabits, that is what we're talking about, the wellness of that body. And you don't have to have this, immense knowledge of what goes on in the body. But I would say this to Tyler all the time. I think that the anatomy and physiology class should be required in high school.
I didn't take it.
Because you should know where your liver is. Like, you should know, the general idea of what your liver does, okay? So,
I don't know where mine is.
And
Thanks.
if you knew what your liver does, you'd stop buying all the detox teas and the detox drinks and the detox that, because you know that your liver detoxes for you. So that's a whole side note. But I say that to say, like, it's okay. You don't have to know everything about your body to understand physical wellness, but just think about, like, your body and how you take care of it and what are the things you need to do to take care of it. And maybe you do need to learn some more about your physical body. And so I mentioned earlier that you see the typical definition of physical wellness, and you'll see eat healthy, exercise, and get enough sleep. And also, like, if you're sick, of course, seek out help. To know that, like, if you're not well, that you go to see a doctor and get those things taken care of. Like, if you have a cold, or if you have the flu, or if you have aches and pains, like, to go figure out what's wrong. So to talk about food, since that is kind of my world, food does play a factor in your physical wellness, because food is literally the thing that keeps us alive. If we didn't have food and water, we would die. And so just like the physical absolute basic needs of your body is food. And so food is our fuel. It is the sustenance. I love the quote that Thor makes on the Thor movie when he comes down to Earth and he's in the cafe and he's like, or he's somewhere and he's like, I need sustenance. And just, I always thought that was really funny, because it was like, yeah, we all do. Like, we all need to stop and think, what does my body need right now? And food is one of your basic needs. It is what keeps you alive. And so, yeah, food plays a huge factor in your physical wellness. In the simple fact of just, it is the fuel for your body.
Many questions.
Sorry, I know that was a lot.
No, you're good. Let's see. How about tips? People love tips. Hit me with your top 3 food tips or eating tips, something in that realm.
I'm going to give general because,
yes,
obviously. But the thing is, and there are dietitians out there that probably do this, but the thing is, dietitians are not here to say, like, or I'm not the type of dietitian that's going to be like, you have to eat the most healthiest, like, perfectly high quality food. Like, I'm not, that's not the point. The point is to make sure your body gets the fuel it needs. And every food fuels your body. Can it fuel your body a little differently? Can qualities of food affect your body? Absolutely. But when we are thinking about all dimensions of wellness, our financial wellness plays a factor, our emotional wellness plays a factor. And so those things will tie into what might be a recommendation or what might be the best choice for you. So to answer your question, just generally, like, just aim for, there's 5 food groups, right? Okay, we got dairy, fruits, vegetables, grains, and protein. There's 5 food groups. Try to get them on your plate multiple times throughout the day. 3 meals, some snacks in between, and of course, individualize it to your own health needs. But when we get a variety of foods, we get a variety of nutrients. Nutrients fuel our body and help our body function the way it's supposed to. Of course, drink water. And of course, if you're lactose intolerant, then your dairy is going to look different than the next person. But just try to get a variety of food on your plate within your means, and don't underfuel your body, because that just causes more issues. So make sure you're getting enough. That's why we say 3 meals and snacks in between.
Lots of goodness. I remember one time you were talking to somebody, and they were basically saying, "Well, I don't think I'm gonna eat this because I just had it was like a Coke or something like that." And you were like, "Hey, like, is a Coke always the best choice? Probably not. But if you want a Coke, have a Coke. But don't let having a Coke keep you from eating something that's going to provide sustenance for you. 'Cause
Yeah. Okay.
a Coke is not going to
Thank
provide
you.
sustenance.
Thank you for bringing up the other thing that I did want to share and I forgot. So you think of the 5 food groups. Not all of our foods are going to fall into those 5 food groups, right? Like a soda, where does that fall? It's not a dairy. It's not, a fruit. So soda.
It's the top of the pyramid. It's the sugar, right?
Whether it be, like a brownie, a piece of chocolate, a soda, a little Debbie cake, whatever. If you're like, you're looking at this food, a Cheeto, I don't know, you're looking at the food and you're like, where does it fall on those 5 food groups, Virginia? Because now it sounds like I can't eat these foods if they don't fit perfectly into these 5 food groups. Chill out, first of all. Second of all, here's what Tyler just said. It's like, yeah, okay, have that food if you want to have it, but know that is not the thing that's bringing you sustenance. It's not the thing that's bringing you the fuel that your body needs. And so your majority of what you eat can be more fulfilling and nutritious and nourishing to your body, fueling up your body, than maybe some of those other ones that don't fall into those food groups. But hear me out when I say, like, I'm not saying anything bad about any foods because I don't see foods as good or bad, and I don't recommend that anybody else does that.
My favorite question when people go, "What's your wife do?" I'm like, "Oh, she's a dietitian." Well, first of all, the response is, "Oh man, I need to talk to her." And then the second response is, do y'all only eat healthy at your house? So do we only eat healthy at our house, babe?
Depends on how you define healthy, but we eat in a way that supports us financially because we shop on a budget. It supports us emotionally because we eat what we like. Mm-hmm. And it supports us physically, or AKA nutritionally, because I do aim to get a variety of nutrients in what I choose to feed my family.
But do you guys just like eat a lot of salads and stuff?
No, I don't like salads that much.
Do y'all like ever have pizzas?
Heck yeah.
Oh. Well,
I mean, I like salads too, but
yeah,
I like them from a restaurant.
But like, y'all don't have sweets or anything at home, right?
We do.
Because I just ate Oreos, so
yeah.
I'm glad you said yes to that. All right, cool. Anything else, food related, physical?
I could talk about that all day long.
I know you could, but something that's just like burning in you. That's the thing I'm looking for.
I think I said it all. Just remember that what you eat is not only meant for nourishment; it's also meant to enjoy and sometimes comfort. So just know that
comfort food.
Yeah. So.
Love it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so that was food. You actually mentioned 2 other categories, so let's dive into the second one. It's the one we automatically think about when we say the word physical. It's fitness. So I'm going to fit this whole pizza in my mouth, right?
Fitness pizza in my mouth, yeah.
That classic joke. I don't even remember what it comes
funny.
from. All right, so you can talk about food.
Yeah.
Talk about fitness with me.
Okay, yeah. So I'm not an exercise expert. You want to talk to an exercise
But you worked with one
expert, you can call
or
Cameron.
Some.
Not call, but you can talk to Cameron Vincent, who we have interviewed previously. Here's the thing. Same kind of concept. We want to move our body in a way that brings us joy. And I get it. Like, exercise doesn't always like feel joyful in the moment.
Nope.
But if you are absolutely miserable with what you're doing with your exercise, you might want to reconsider, because you're probably not getting much out of it if you absolutely hate it every time you go. But I'm all about what I call joyful movement. Moving because your body can, moving because you want to, moving because you do have energy that you've taken in from food, and that energy can be used in many different ways. Your brain uses it, your body uses it, your organs use it. And so like movement is another way to just like, to use your energy. And I don't want to say burn your energy, because I feel like that's so negative to think you have to burn off what you eat. But just to be able to move your body is, first of all, a gift. Like, not everybody can do that. But also to strengthen our body, because like if you have a 2-year-old and you have to pick her up often, like you'll start to notice how weak you are. Raising my hand here because I've realized that. But yeah, I mean, I just think like with exercise, we need to, take into consideration our needs, our desires, and our abilities. I learned a long time ago, I forced myself to run for a few years. And I didn't grow up in sports. I didn't grow up running. So I was just trying to make myself do something that I didn't really like. I thought I could make myself like it. But I honestly was just punishing myself. And that was when I was in kind of a disordered pattern too, I would say, with food and exercise. But when it finally hit me, it was like, why don't I do something that I love? And I started doing hip hop. And I don't do it anymore because I'm not in a place where hip hop is offered on a weekly basis, like at my old job. But I just so enjoyed it because it was movement that was fun. It was in a group setting, and it was definitely hard. So, I mean, I felt challenged. I think there is joy in finding and being challenged. So I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yes, it made good sense. So you mentioned hip hop. What are some other things that like you enjoy when it comes to being active? Let's go with that.
What I personally enjoy?
Yeah, you personally. Just give me some examples.
Yeah, so I love to walk. Walking is probably one of the most therapeutic things almost anybody I feel like could do. But I especially love it.
Wouldn't it be better if you ran?
No.
Why not?
Because I'm not conditioned for that. And when you're not conditioned for it, it's just miserable. But it's just not something I want to do. There are days where I like get this like energy burst and I'm like, I could run, but I don't do it. So, running's just not my thing. I love to walk. I love to dance. Again, not really doing that super frequently right now, but I really like low impact stuff like yoga. I love to swim, but I don't have a pool to go swimming in.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'll work on that.
Yeah, okay. But I do love to swim. Like if I could have joined a swimming team, I would have. I do actually like some sports. So like volleyball is really fun to me. Ultimate frisbee, soccer is really fun to me. There is some running in that, but it's running with purpose. And it's running with people back and forth, so it's kind of fun. So there is some sport that, I could enjoy. I love to hike. There's no place in Mississippi necessarily to hike, but that's fun. And then like stuff like kayaking and, anything outdoorsy that's like, a little bit challenging. So at the end of it, you can be like, yeah, I did that.
Well, how do I find my thing?
I think you just try different stuff. Don't feel like you have to join a gym to become physically fit or, to exercise and move your body. Just find what you like, try different things, find a buddy, find a friend. That can sometimes be helpful. And, I'm not saying give up just if you don't like the first time you do it. Because like I said, if you're not conditioned, it's not, whatever it is, it's not going to feel great. So pace yourself. Don't give up. But just really, I'll say this. What's your motive? What is your motive to? Is it to enjoy the movement of your body that you can, do? Or is it to punish yourself for something or to make up for something like what you ate? Or is it, something negative that's not very motivating in the long run?
Dig in a little bit. Why would I not want to do something just because it feels on the negative side?
Well, for one, like I said, it's not very motivating. We're I think just the way we're made, negative motivations don't cultivate long-term habits. You don't flourish in that. So it's kind of like, if your motivation is from a negative standpoint, then you might feel like you never get it right, or you can never live up to it, or you can never reach it. Whereas if you think about it more in a gratitude type concept or thought, like, I can do this because my legs are strong and they work, or because I know I can make them stronger, and you know, a positive in the sense of like, a lot of people tell me that they want to exercise so that they can keep up with their children, or their grandchildren. And I think that can be somewhat a special motivation because while there's some things of your health you can't control, of course, if you can, move a little bit more and get yourself to be a little bit more conditioned and flexible, then you will be more able to join in with your children or your grandchildren when they're running around and playing. And again, like, there's some things in your health you can't control or you just can't do anything about. I think about people who might have heart issues or, that sort of thing, like, of course, within your means. But just like, what is your motive and what do you really want to exercise for? Or what do you really want to move your body for? Where is it coming from? Is it coming from a grateful standpoint or is it coming from a negative motivation?
So find positive motivations and things I enjoy doing, and thus I'm more likely to keep it in the long run?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because you're doing something you enjoy.
Love it. So I should continue to not run because I hate it. Thanks. I appreciate that encouragement, babe. I'll stick to biking. It's much better. All right. So the third and final piece that you mentioned on there was sleep. So talk to me about sleep and physical wellness and where they meet.
Oh, my word. Okay. So there's so much more than the three, of course.
Yes.
But sleep is one that I almost could harp on probably more than, not quite as much as food, but sleep is so important. Okay, it is a time where your body can slow down, it can restore. Things are happening while you're sleeping, but also things are resting. Like, your body is at rest, but even when it's at rest, like, it's doing things to restore, which is so cool. And I don't know all the ins and outs of what's actually happening, but your brain, your organs, like, things are happening that are making it possible for you to wake up the next day and do it all over again. And we get such poor sleep in this culture. I don't know if it's like, and I say this culture, just like in this
age.
Like in this age, I feel like sleep is so poor, and it's likely poor because of our screen time or our anxieties that haven't been, managed with a healthy, therapy or, treatment. Anxieties, thought patterns, that sort of thing that keep you up at night. Stress is like huge. That's another physical wellness facet that we could talk about. But stress can cause poor sleep. Poor sleep can cause stress. And so if we don't get that rest at night, like, our body just cannot function the way it's supposed to at its best. And we have to prioritize. I feel like we need to prioritize sleep. We need to prioritize the other two things as well, food and movement. But sleep is something very much we should be prioritizing and making sure we're getting enough. And knowing that, like, if you're tired throughout the day, like, that is a sign. That's your body's sign to say, hey, something is not right. It could be that I'm not getting enough sleep. Could be that maybe you're sleeping too much because you're dealing with, like, a health issue or a mental health issue. So sleep is just important to know, like, what is right for you, and to just restore your body overnight. Give yourself that time to do that.
Yeah, so I can speak personally to sleep on a couple of fronts. One, I have known my whole life that I probably had sleep apnea, and I say that not just because I snore loudly, though I do. Virginia can definitely attest to that one, but also because there were definitely moments in the middle of the night where I would literally wake up unable to breathe.
Terrifying.
To Virginia. For me, it happened so, maybe not frequently is not the right word, but it happened enough throughout my life in moments that, like, it literally woke me up when it happened, that I knew what it was. I knew I just needed to, oddly enough, hold my breath, and then after a few seconds, I could release out and breathe normal again. And after several minutes of adrenaline slowly calming back down, eventually fall back asleep. I knew that it woke me up enough because I stared at the clock at least once an hour, every hour in the middle of the night. So finally took the time, largely because Virginia told me to go and get a sleep test done. And
because poor sleep leads to negative health outcomes and complications in the future.
Yep. So I'll add this to it. I wouldn't go to bed most nights. I'd just stay up really late because I knew I would pass out from exhaustion because I wasn't going to sleep if I just went and laid down. Anyway, so I got the sleep test done, confirmed I have sleep apnea. So nowadays I use a CPAP when I sleep. Was it a little frustrating at first? Yes. Did it take some getting used to having this thing on my face? Absolutely. I sleep now. I sleep and I sleep much better and feel more rested in the mornings.
Yep, you don't wake up and look at the clock as much.
I don't. I hardly ever look at the clock.
And yes, while it's frustrating, like it was very
it's worth
beneficial.
the effort.
Yeah.
It took a couple of months of adjusting,
Yeah.
probably 2, maybe 3 months of adjusting to it, but it was worth the effort.
Yeah.
And then you, Virginia, actually have I guess it's great aunt maybe, who works in a sleep clinic. I was chatting with...
She's just a cousin.
Cousin? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. There's misconnections. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Family member who works in a sleep clinic and was talking about the fact that people with blood pressure issues can typically avoid blood pressure medicine by getting a sleep test and getting on a CPAP.
Yes.
Talked about the fact that kids with diagnosed ADD or ADHD, either one, often can have less behavioral issues because, especially the ones with ADHD, typically those kids are less apt to sleep, and they'll actually prescribe a CPAP to them, and once they adjust to it, it actually helps them sleep as well and can help with some of their behavioral issues. Does that mean those things will help your blood pressure or help you or your kid with ADHD? Not necessarily, but it's worth testing.
Full disclosure, anything that we say on this podcast is not to be taken as medical advice or information.
Correct. We are everyday people who have
Jumped into the
mess of life and are making an adventure of it. We told you there were no experts here.
Yeah.
But sleep!
I mean, technically I'm an expert.
You're an expert in some things. It's true. In the food part that we talked about at the beginning, you're an expert. Anyway, sleep. It's super important.
Yeah, it's super
and it
important.
helps your body.
Mm-hmm. It's good for your kids, too, so make sure they get sleep.
Yes.
Whether
goodness.
they have ADHD or whatever.
Yes. We'll do an episode in the future because it's something I can talk about a lot in our digital habits and how those affect our sleep life and
Yep.
all the other aspects of our life, too. Honestly, I could do a whole series. Anyway,
Moving
forward. So you offhanded said this as you were kind of getting rolling, and I want to dive a little bit further into it. How does my perception of my body image play into my physical wellness?
Yeah. So, this kid, this might, be like something somebody might be dealing with that's listening. The way that you see yourself, like, think about it. Like, when you view yourself in a picture or in the mirror, or just think about yourself, what kind of thoughts arise? And technically, I probably shouldn't be doing that on a podcast, but it should probably be done in a safe place with a person you can speak about it with. But so just to say, like, it really does matter the way that you think about your body. And again, we live in an age, we live in a culture where bodies are very much like worshipped.
Yes.
I think I can use that term to say that we worship bodies, we obsess over bodies, and you're at every single turn somebody is commenting about somebody else's body, and that then in turn causes you to think about how you view, or it affects the way that you view your body. And so protect yourself, protect your children. Because the way that we view our body plays a huge factor in how we treat our body. So think about, like, if we're going to talk about body image and disordered eating patterns, it could be that someone really wants to get down to a smaller size, and so they might obsess with the way that the amount of calories that they eat or the food that they eat, making sure it's healthy enough. And so that's being affected by the way that they view their body. And I'm not going to go into all of that, but just one thing that I want to say is that when God created us, He said, "You're created in our image," and it was good. But even then, like when Adam and Eve were created, and I know people have said this before, but like when sin came into this world, the first thing that they did was hide their bodies. They already felt this shame. And of course, I mean, they were hiding from God, but even between each other, like they were hiding. And so we already have this just like innate brokenness in how we view our bodies. And it can be really difficult to, just work through that, especially alone. But, the way that we view our body does affect the way that we treat our body physically. So sometimes we don't view ourselves as worthy. We don't feel like we look according to the standards of what the world sees as beautiful or good looking or whatever. We may not see ourselves as important, or I already said worthy, but I'm going to say worth it. And, this is not about like putting on makeup, getting your hair done. Okay. This is about, like I said, the basic needs, feeding yourself, in a way that brings you fuel, nourishment, and joy, moving your body because you've been given a body to move, and you can do things with that body. And maybe you're the type of person who could, do more because you're stronger or whatever. And so you aim to do that. But the thing is, it's not about trying to fit this ideal, because I read this on Instagram before we started, but your body is already an ideal because it was God's idea. And I don't take credit for that quote. I'll tag those people later. But if you can just remember that you were created in the image of God, and He fearfully and wonderfully made you, knitted you together in your mother's womb. And as cheesy as that sounds, know that He created you with a purpose, with intention, and with His wonderful creativity put you together. And we're not all meant to look the same. We're not all meant to act and be the same. We all look different for a reason. And things, I have said this before, so if you've heard it, I'm sorry, but like you look outside at nature and you see the mountains, the trees, the fall leaves that we just experienced, or you see the ocean and the white sand and the blue water, or whatever, the Grand Canyon, which is amazing, Niagara Falls. You saw these beautiful things in creation, but don't forget that when God created humans, He chose us to be over dominion of creation of this earth and in communion with Him. So if that doesn't make you go, okay, like, let me stop hating myself and let me take care of myself and steward what I've been given, then maybe some work needs to be done. That's totally fine. But I mean, and I have clients that, have trouble looking in the mirror. And if you hear me say that and you can relate, you're a listener and you can relate, or don't like looking at pictures of yourself, then I definitely would say that that's some work that needs to be done, because you are more than your body, okay? So we're talking about physical wellness today, but like you are more than just a body. You're not an ornament, but you are an instrument to be used by God. Again, those are words from somebody else that I can't credit, but it's not that we're here to be the most beautiful, strong, fit, healthy people out there, but we are created with a purpose, and we have a purpose on this earth. And so if you can take the way that you view your body and see it in the way that God views you, which will be almost impossible, but if you could at least work towards it, to see how He views you, then your purpose in life will be able to be lived out a lot more efficiently. because you're not focused on your looks, you're not focused on your physical health. Okay, like I have type 1 diabetes. I have a condition that affects my health. It affects my every single thought that I have. And I say that to just say, like, that doesn't define me. Like, my physical health does not define anything about me. It doesn't give me identity. Can it be a part of my calling? Absolutely. I believe God sent me into this calling that I have, or is using my condition to fulfill the calling that I have of being a dietitian. But the thing is, we're more than a body, and we have a purpose on this earth. So if we can view our bodies more like how God views us, then I think that we could more efficiently live out the purpose that He has given us. I'm preaching. I'm going to shut up now.
No, I loved it. It was good. It was good. There are many things I could lean into. Let's shift talking about the body a little bit.
Okay.
And talk about how so often we think about, love the Lord your God with your mind, all your mind, heart, and soul,
soul, mind,
and strength.
And strength, yeah.
Yeah, we know what to do with
sing the song.
Mind. We kind of get soul, heart, kind of get those. What about strength, body? Like, how does my body come into loving the Lord with all that I am?
Okay. I'm thinking here because I wasn't quite prepared for that, but I love this question. So, strength. I didn't think of that as a physical thing. I kind of more thought of that as a mental strength. But if we're talking physical body and how that can cultivate your love of the Lord with all your might, then what I would say is this, and first and foremost, remember that God is sovereign, okay? His plans cannot be thwarted, right? You cannot control everything. You cannot control everything about your body. Now, we're talking about physical wellness today, and I would love to sit here and tell you, here's a 1, 2, 3 step on how to keep yourself healthy and stay healthy for the rest of your life, to prevent disease, to prevent cancer, to blah, 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 blah. Do we have a lot of research that tells us some of those things? Yes, absolutely. But can we control it? Absolutely not. And the reason why I say that, and it sounds depressing when I say it like that, but what you need to know is that just because you cannot control everything, you can't control every facet of your health, you might come up with a diagnosis of something. You might have a car wreck and have a broken back that affects you for the rest of your life, and literally nothing you do except for some physical therapy to get it stronger is going to change the fact that you broke your back and now it's affecting you for the rest of your life, right? Mm-hmm. And so some things are just going to happen that are out of our control. Right. So how do we love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength if we have physical ailments? I would say that no matter what you're going through, no matter what you have, think about this. Okay. Oh man, I could go so much into it right now. Okay, so I just was reading about Paul, right? Paul, the guy who wrote a lot of stuff in the New Testament. Paul was in prison a lot. The particular stint I was reading, he was in prison for 2 years. And you hear Paul say in Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You think about why can't he do anything or all things through Christ who strengthens him if he's sitting in prison? Like, how could he do anything? Well, it's because he's doing what God has called him to do where he is, regardless of where he is. So your circumstance, your health, your physical ailment does not define you, like I said earlier. And whatever you are dealing with, you can still love the Lord and live out your calling within your means. And so when you steward what you have, so do what you can to take care of yourself, that can be a form of worship as well. physical, attaining, health, attaining good health, is not worship to God. Taking care of the body He has given you, regardless of your circumstance, regardless of your ailments, is worship to God. So taking what you have, maybe I can just break it down like this. Taking what you have been given, your body, which is a precious gift. It is one of the most precious gifts I would say God has given us, outside of Jesus, of course. Take that gift that He's given to you, and do your best with it. Be intentional. Take care of it so that you can live out your purpose, even if you got a broke foot, even if you got even if you're in, I don't want to say in your wheelchair because I've never been in a wheelchair and I don't want to speak, for somebody, but like, regardless of your circumstance, you can live out your purpose and you can love the Lord and you can worship Him through taking care of the temple that He has given you. And again, to get to pull out one of the well-used verses that don't you know that your body is a temple for the Holy Spirit? Whereas the Spirit of God would dwell in the temple or the tabernacle in the Holy of Holies. When Jesus came, He tore that veil, and the Spirit now resides within a believer. Yeah, your body is a temple. Again, does that mean you're trying to attain perfect health? No. But you are stewarding the temple, the body that you have been given, so that you can. It's not like the Holy Spirit's going to leave your body. It's not like the Holy Spirit's going to leave you if you don't take care of your body, or if illness overcomes you. But you can at least do the best you can with what you got.
Love it.
I'm probably preaching too much. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. I'm enjoying it. Here's a fun one. We'll go with fun. Fun's the word. Mm-hmm. Did Jesus eat well? Did He exercise a bunch? And did He get enough sleep every night?
Okay, I love this question. I'm about to dive into this. Okay, just briefly though. So Jesus, He ate bread. He ate around the table with His friends, with His loved ones.
Whoa, bread's bad for you.
With His...
that was a joke.
I know, yeah. With the sinners and the tax collectors. He communed around a table with food. So first I would say that's the perfect example of how food not only sustains us with nourishment, but it sustains us with community. Mm-hmm. The best conversations happen around the table. If your family doesn't eat around the table because of whatever reason, if you can make it happen, make it happen.
Turn the TV off.
Make it happen. I'm telling you, it's amazing. And we have a 2-year-old, and sometimes it's 2 minutes long. But yeah, no, He ate around the table, so it nourishes our body, but it nourishes our community, our communion, I should say, with each other. Did He rest? Absolutely. He talks about rest a good bit. Sometimes He gave up rest to pray. So don't know what to do with that because I like sleep. But He clearly prioritized His relationship with God, which is funny because He was God. Hello, that's just so funny to think about. But Jesus, of course, rested and calls us to rest. God commanded us to rest. It's a Sabbath, and which we've talked about recently. Mm-hmm. And then exercise. I don't know, but here's the thing.
He walked a lot.
He did walk a lot. He moved a lot. I'm absolutely certain that when He was preaching and healing people
exercised unless you were like in the army.
I think about Simon the Zealot. If you watch The Chosen, you see Simon the Zealot. He's like out there exercising, and all the guys are like, "Why does that matter?" And he's like, "Dude, I'm ready. I'm ready for a war."
Yeah, I think military people would be the only ones who exercise trained in that day and age.
So even though Paul uses like the analogy
training
run the
for
race,
he's
talking about
people in the Olympics.
Yeah. So there was that, but like
it was a professional sport.
That was like a sport, yeah. Anyway, say all that to say, they did a lot of movement anyways because they had to walk everywhere they went. Exercise wasn't that important to them. They didn't lead a sedentary lifestyle.
Their daily life was exercise.
Yeah, so because they're like carrying waters. The women were probably carrying their babies everywhere they went, and until they could
Ain't no car
walk,
seats.
right? Exactly. There ain't no baby carriers either. They had those wraps around their body, like we're starting to use again these days. But no, okay, I'm being funny here, but I want to bring it back around to say, you don't read about these things specifically in the Bible about how Jesus ate, what he ate specifically and related to his health. Obviously, they don't really talk about exercise. And then as far as rest goes, that was something that was important. So, hey, if anything, eating around the table, communing with others, doing work. However, Jesus, obviously was doing a lot of different work in his ministry, walking and stuff. And then resting was very important. But the thing was, did he obsess over any of it? Absolutely not. You don't see that. You don't see him. It doesn't consume his thoughts. It didn't consume his messages that he preached. His message was to live out your purpose, bring the kingdom of God. The kingdom is near. Okay, that probably was a very bad paraphrase and synopsis of Jesus' ministry. But I think you get it when I say that, did Jesus exercise, eat well, and get a lot of sleep? Well, don't really know, but I can read what he did and say that it was not something that consumed him.
Love it. Lots of good things. Any closing thoughts? It's okay if you don't have any. I know I made you have many thoughts.
I had so many thoughts and could talk forever. I do want to add to that last question to say that I do believe Jesus took care of his body in the sense of he made sure he was fed. And he did make sure he was rested because he did do a lot of walking, and ministry is hard work when you're on your feet all day and healing people. So I do believe that he did take care of his body. I didn't say that, so I did want to make sure I said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just to say all this to say, physical illness, think about your body. There's so many more aspects to it than just eat well, exercise, and get enough sleep. And I obviously don't have the time to talk about all of it, and we could probably bring in a lot more experts in here to talk about it, but this is not, we're just talking about the messiness of life and that sort of thing. So
love it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I got one final question for you, but we'll hit it right after this break, so don't go away. All right. Thanks for all the goodness, Virginia, that all of that was. Last question for you, because you are the interviewee tonight.
Yeah.
You get to answer that one. What is something messy in your life that you're loving?
Okay, I have two answers.
No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Okay.
Do it.
The first one, I already mentioned that I started working at this addiction rehab center, and I just want to say that it's messy. Addiction is messy. But if you or a loved one is in the middle of an addiction, whether it be to a prescription drug, a street drug, or alcohol, or even some food issues, I don't really like to say food addiction. Anyways, go get help. Get help. Or try to get your loved one help. It is definitely a disease, a disorder that needs to be approached by the experts, the medical and health professionals out there. So I just have to say that out loud because I didn't realize what that world was like until I started working in it. So I'm messy, but I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving learning about it and working in that world. That's number one. Number two is, ding, ding, ding. I think everybody knows at this point, but I am pregnant.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I'm having
Boles
a baby.
baby number two.
Number two. We are in our second trimester, and we don't know the gender yet. And I've been sick, but I'm feeling great now. So if you have any more questions, just hit me up and I'll let you know. We're really excited, yes. And do we want a baby boy or a baby girl? It does not matter. How does Luna feel about it?
Would be cheaper because
Yeah,
we
already
got
have
girl
girl
clothes.
stuff. How does Luna feel about it? She's 2. She doesn't understand. Trying to answer all the questions. I love the questions. It's totally fine if you guys want to ask me more.
Do you want people to randomly walk up and touch your belly?
I mean, not randomly, but like if you're somebody I know and I'm okay with, let me just say no.
Okay, answer is no.
Let me just say no. Just ask first.
Yeah, don't ever randomly walk
Yeah,
up
don't
and touch
randomly
someone's belly.
Yeah, don't.
That's weird.
I just realized that answer was going out to a lot more people than just my loved ones. So
Yeah, that's weird. Doesn't matter who.
don't
it is.
touch
It's
anybody
weird.
without their permission. Period.
Correct. Love it. Well, thank you guys for being a part of this physical wellness episode. We've got 2 left in the series. We're going to talk about social wellness and spiritual wellness. And just to go ahead and let you know, I'm not taking spiritual wellness. You guys hear me enough on that topic.
Wait,
already.
Don't they hear me enough and you made me do this?
Yeah, they hear you, but they don't hear you talk about this kind of a topic. We're typically more
True.
in my realm of topics than
Wow.
yours. So
We can say we've already done the spiritual wellness interview, and it is fire.
Yes, it
is.
is.
Y'all get ready for that.
Keep paying attention for it, and you know how you get to know it happen and don't even have to think about it? You subscribe to the podcast.
Subscribe to the podcast.
You know what podcasts I listen to? Ones I'm subscribed to. I don't go and check and see if there's a new episode for anything. I just let them hit on my preferred platform of Overcast. It's the best, just throwing that out there. Best way to listen, Overcast. They're not a sponsor, but they totally can if they want to. Subscribe to the podcast. Be sure to share us. Give us a rating and review. All the nice words and the 5 stars. It helps other people experience our podcast. And in 2022, we're going to take and spend some episodes and read some of the ones we have gotten out for you guys.
Yeah.
So if you want to make sure you get talked about, go and drop a review. You can do that on Apple Podcasts. Is the best place to drop reviews, just because Apple's Apple, you know?
Yeah.
So give us a rating, give us a review. But listen, all the ways to keep up with all the things, it's bolesoflife.com. And when you go there, be sure to go to the podcast tab on there, and you can record yourself telling us what is messy in your life that you're loving. Thanks for joining us on the podcasting journey. We'll see you guys again soon.